Hello, this is Brooke LaBerge. My client has oral defensiveness during feeding tasks and would benefit from gestatory interventions. He's very sensitive to soft foods. He tends to either spit them out or vomit them out. So we're trying to desensitize him from eating, gradually grading up to eating more softer foods. So that's what he's overly sensitive to. He also has jerky movements while trying to feed himself, and he drops most of his food on the floor during feeding tasks. So it's very very jerky. So he would benefit from equipment such as like cutout cups, weighted silverware, angle forks and spoons, non-tip bowls, and Dicam, which is used to prevent plates and cups from sliding off the table. So this is just a general overview of what it looks like right here of the equipment I would think to get for him. Um, Obviously, I have none of this equipment at home, but I'm very visual and I like to show y'all everything I have. So the next thing is intervention one includes having him use incremental increases of trying to try different flavors of candy on the tongue. So he's not chewing or swallowing the food. He's just introduced to different, like, for example, I'm going to use Airheads or flavored gum to get him started. And so for those who have had Airheads, they could start them by sniffing it or just licking it. And um, so this can be graded down by using more bland flavors, such as blueberry or strawberry flavored Airheads or flavored gums, and you could upgrade it by gradually getting them to lick and smell more sour, intense flavors such as green apple, cherry, and lemon, which is a little bit more sour and more intense. Now, the second intervention includes having the client experiment with foods of different temperatures, such as trying ice cubes first, then having a glass of water, then frozen fruit to room temperature fruit, such as, apples, instead of frozen strawberries, for example, or from trying boiled eggs that are cold to cooked eggs that are scrambled. So, this is just another overview of different temperatures of food because that's also a sensory thing. There's a lot of them are sensitive to different temperatures as well. So, what I mean by gradually grading up to softer foods, they could try more crunchy foods. Like a lot of them, like this child probably likes chips. This probably child probably likes peanuts. But we could another way to grade down is introducing him to new dips. So maybe a lot of people like fried pickles, which is more of a softer food, but it's also crunchy too. So it's right in the middle. It's not too soft, not too hard. It's like right where you need it. But a lot of kids love dipping sauce like barbecue and ranch, honey mustard, sometimes ketchup. Um, and so that would be a good idea to introduce them to softer foods. It's having them dip crunchier foods into softer foods, mixing the two together. Another good example I have is I have a picture of a strawberry. So this, I don't know if y'all can see it, but this strawberry right here, it's more of a hard, more rougher food, but the chocolate sauce is soft. So introducing them to softer foods, such as putting certain soft foods on top of the crunchier foods to desensitize them. Um, and there's ways to get them to, I'm trying to see what I was going to say. Oh yeah, so the third intervention includes grading up from hard to crunchy foods and enjoying more softer textures, which I just discussed as well. I can, so this is the next one's fun. I can have the client pick out food of his preference. So he could just pick out a food that he likes while I introduce all the other flavors of food, such as bitter, sweet, salt, or spicy foods. And then introducing a food that is slightly less crunchy each time I try to grade up to having the client gradually desensitize to eating softer foods, which I use for the fried pickles example with ranch, for example. So I can begin by having the child just touch the item, touch the new introduced item. So these are like, these are like limes, which are more, they could suck on a lime, which is more sweet or bitter. This is spicy if they want to try a little bit of the spicy Vietnamese soup. This is more of a sweet food, and a lot of people do like chips. Um, and so I could have them try different types of uh, foods as well. Sour cream is also more like it's kind of sweet, but it's also kind of, it's sour cream, so it's a little bit sour, but it's a softer texture. And they could dip their tacos in sour cream. So the way to desensitize them is maybe mix the two together, like I said. Let's see, where was I? So there's another fun thing where I can have them, when I introduce the new food item, I can have them, like I said, first smell it, hold it to the lips, touch it with a tongue, and then eventually start biting into the food and then swallowing it. So this can make eating for the client fun without the initial pressure of having the client eat the food, without making them feel like they have to eat it. You're just giving them a choice. Um, they should be scheduled a food trying time afterwards in order for the client to not feel forced to try the food. So you just sample a bunch of foods and then you just have them pick what they want. So that time slot is just an open invitation for the client to experiment with new textures and flavors of food. It's always a great idea to have the client perform alternating bites of food that is being followed by sips of liquid, or having the client swallow for 2 to 3 times per bite or 2 sips. Um, and we already talked about mixing crunchy foods with soft foods. Let's see what's next. Oh, yes. So I have these flavored bubbles and they're scented. They're like in the shape of ice cream cones. Okay, so what those do is, where was I? Yes. And so it just increases their gustatory perception. Like they're just basically smelling it, so it's not edible, but it's definitely helping them become more aware of their senses as well. The client should always eat his or food in a calming and more pleasurable environment without any distractions. That way, they're not so anxious when they're trying new food, because sometimes trying new food can be anxious for them. Also, I also believe that cooking together without even eating the food is a way for them to feel safe around food, and they're having fun cooking the food without feeling the pressure to eat it. But I think the more fun they have while touching the food, examining the food, even smelling the food, and seeing other people eat the food in front of them, helps them become more aware that this type of food is safe to eat. It's always good to let them know that, discuss with them, food handling safety, like raw foods, how not to eat raw foods, how to wash your hands after touching raw meat, that example. But doing all these fun things with them could actually make them want to eat the food without you trying to get them to. They just might want to.